I heard she's claiming to be pregnant. Poor thing must be desperate for attention. Alice isn't pregnant, Mark spat. She's just trying to avoid helping you. But I won't let her get away with it. Emma sighed softly. Still be careful, okay? The killer's still out there. I worry about everyone's safety. Just worry about yourself, sweetheart. I don't care what happens to Alice as long as she doesn't die before giving you that kidney. His casual cruelty twisted my ghostly heart. They discussed my fate so callously, never knowing my corpse lay just feet away, never realizing that the kidney Emma needed so desperately was now too destroyed to save her. My death was orchestrated by Emma. But my husband's blindness made it possible that if only he knew the truth, that his precious Emma had arranged my murder, and he was examining his own wife's body. But even if he knew, would he care? Or would he just be angry that Emma could no longer get my kidney? After sweetly assuring Emma he'd be there tomorrow, Mark received another call. This time from Sarah, my best friend. Mark, have you been able to reach Alice? She has an ultrasound scheduled for tomorrow morning. Sarah's worried voice came through the phone. Sarah was the only one who had stood by me after I married Mark. She had been his friend first, but she saw through his facade. The only warmth I'd felt in my marriage came from Sarah's friendship. Mark paused for a moment, then sneered. Ultrasound? What ultrasound? Sarah's voice turned incredulous. The pregnancy checkup. It's been scheduled for weeks. Don't tell me you forgot. I've been trying to call her for days, Sarah continued. She's not answering my calls. And she hasn't replied to any of my messages. I'm getting worried. Mark paused for a moment, then sneered. Worried? About what? Another one of her lies. Sarah's voice turned incredulous. She's your wife, Mark. She could be pregnant with your child. Don't you care at all? Mark angrily cut her off. Sarah, you were my friend first. Don't let Alice fool you with her lies. She's just making up this pregnancy to avoid helping Emma. She's always been selfish and manipulative. I heard Sarah sigh heavily through the phone. Mark, I've known you for 10 years. You've changed. The Mark I knew would never treat his wife like this. Tell Alice she has one last chance. Mark's voice turned cold. If she doesn't agree to donate her kidney to Emma, I'm filing for divorce. I won't let her selfishness kill the woman I love. The woman he loved. Not me. Never me. Mark hung up before Sarah could respond, his face twisted with anger. His colleague approached him cautiously. Any news about your wife? I heard she hasn't been answering calls for days. Mark scoffed, his voice dripping with disdain. Probably hiding somewhere, trying to make me feel guilty. She's good at playing victim. The older detective shook his head sadly. I was at your wedding, Mark. You were so happy then. What happened to you two? I couldn't help but remember that first dinner after our wedding, when he took me to meet Emma. I had worn my best dress, nervous about meeting Mark's old friend. I didn't know then that she was his first love. The restaurant was expensive, all crystal and candlelight. Emma sat there like a queen, perfect in her designer dress. Her eyes had swept over me, lips curving in a mock-innocent smile. Mark, darling, who is this aunt? I was only 23, 5 years younger than her. But she made me feel ancient and shabby. Mark's face darkened instantly. I could see the embarrassment and anger in his eyes. Not at Emma's cruelty, but at me for embarrassing him in front of his precious first love. Alice, he hissed through clenched teeth. Go home and change. You look like you're going to a market, not a fine dining restaurant. My cheeks burned with shame. The dress had cost me a month's salary, but next to Emma's elegant outfit, it might as well have been a potato sack. I'm sorry, I whispered, fighting back tears. Just go, he snapped, not even looking at me. Emma and I will order first. Try to come back looking presentable. That was the first crack in my perfect marriage. Sir, a young officer approached with case records. I've checked the reports. No missing persons filed in the last few days. A missing wife and the family didn't even notice. Another officer wondered aloud. What kind of relationship did they have? What kind of husband doesn't care when his wife disappears? Mark muttered. Their words wrapped around my ghost like chains, heavy with truth. Mark would worry about a stranger's corpse but never spared a thought for his missing wife. When Emma had first returned to town, he had dropped everything to help her settle in. But now he suspected my disappearance was just another trick to get his attention. Perhaps I should never have married him. This was Emma's place in his heart, not mine. The love that should have been mine had already been given to her years ago. Mark handed the degraded paper from my stomach to the forensics team. His colleague hesitated before speaking. Do you think something might have really happened to Alice? Maybe I should look into it. Oh, come on, Mark interrupted. You know how she is. She's probably just hiding, waiting for me to come begging. She'll call tomorrow crying and apologizing like always. What he didn't know was that there would be no call tomorrow. No more apologies. No more begging for the love I'd never had. My corpse lay on their table. And still, he couldn't see me. I was just a replacement. A stand-in for the woman Mark had always loved. And now, like a prop no longer needed, I had been discarded. The only difference was that this time, the disposal was permanent. The last time I disappeared, it was during the camping trip with Mark's friends. Emma had suggested we pick wild berries together, just us girls. Let's bond, she'd said with that sweet smile of hers. When we were alone deep in the woods, far from the others, she suddenly pushed me toward the river that I couldn't swim. She knew that. Mark had mentioned it at dinner once, and I'd seen the gleam in her eyes. The water was freezing, dark. I thrashed desperately, my lungs burning. Somehow, I managed to drag myself to shore. My ankle twisted in the struggle. I limped back to the campsite, soaking wet and shivering, only to find everyone gone. They'd packed up and left without me. When I finally made it home hours later, Mark was waiting with rage in his eyes. Where have you been? He demanded. Emma said you stormed off alone, always causing trouble, always making scenes. I couldn't defend myself. Could only watch Emma's secret, triumphant smile. Sarah helped me treat my injured ankle later that night. Her gentle hands a stark contrast to Mark's harsh words. He does love you, she said softly, applying ointment to my bruises. He's blind when it comes to Emma. But I knew better. Next to clever, beautiful Emma, I would never have Mark's concern. The scales of love always tipped toward the one he truly cared for. And that person would never be me. If I were still alive, I'd be making his favorite stomach medicine soup, delivering it to the police station during his long shifts. But this time, I couldn't appear with apologies as he expected. After all, I was just a corpse now. The forensics results came back quickly. The paper in my stomach was a registration form. The killer had forced it down my throat with contempt. Cooking classes for your husband? He'll probably just eat Emma's cooking anyway. What is this place? Mark frowned at the address. The forensic expert checked his notes. It's a culinary school, specializing in therapeutic cooking and dietary health. When Mark and the other officers visited the school, the instructor was startled by their badges. She examined the damaged form, checking the registration number against her records. A young woman registered a few days ago, she explained. Said her husband had chronic stomach problems. She wanted to learn to cook better for him, help him heal. But she never showed up for class. Didn't answer our confirmation calls either. The instructor pulled out a course syllabus. She signed up for our Healing Kitchen program. It focuses on digestive health and stomach care. Mark took the syllabus, a strange expression crossing his face. Do you have security footage from that day? The instructor nodded. Sweet girl. Spent ages asking questions about acid reflux and gastritis treatments. Made quite an impression. But when the footage played, everyone in the room fell silent. Mark swallowed hard, staring at the screen. That looks like Alice. The instructor brightened. Yes, Alice. That was her name on the form.